So the first thing we're looking at here is linking sheets together. Now Microsoft term this as 3D linking. Now although it has a fancy name, it actually just means getting information from other sheets within the same workbook. And we're going to use a feature called grouping. Now if we have a look here, we've got some sheets, January, February and March. So 3 sheets laid out in a similar fashion with the figures in. We're going to start on January. Now grouping is where we can group together multiple sheets. I guess we would call this multiple select. Now I need to put some calculations on this top sheet for January here and here. I also need to work out some calculations here. I will then have to repeat that on the other 2 sheets, February and March. So what I'm going to do instead is to group all 3 sheets together. Now the way we do this is we're currently selected January. I'm going to hold on the keyboard the Shift key as I click on the last one in the range that I want, which is March. Now you'll notice what happens is that it selects all 3 sheets. This multiple selection Microsoft term as grouping, and if you look at the top of the screen where the name of the file is, you will see the word group. Now what we can do is anything that we do on top will go through to the other 3 sheets. So we want to add up all of these numbers here. So what we'll do is we'll select all of the numbers for January. We'll also go the extra row and column, and when we do the auto sum, that will add up the numbers in both directions. Now we also want to format these, so on the home ribbon we're going to go across to find and select. That's in the editing section, find and select, and we're going to choose formulas. That will highlight these formulas, and we'll then add some currency. So again on the home in the number section, we'll drop down one of the presets, choose currency, and we can even add italic. Now everything we've done there is now passed through to February and the March sheets. Finally, we want to do some calculations here. Now we need to know what the percentage value is of how much London achieved of their target, which is 250,000. So these cells here are pre-formatted. If you select on this cell, you can see that it's already set to percentage. Remember, percentage format does 2 things. It puts the percent symbol at the end of the number. It also multiplies by 100. So to work this out, we do a simple divide. So equals the 123,000 divided into 250,000. Enter that, we get the 49%. We do the same for the other 2, remembering that what we're doing here is going through to the other 2 sheets at the same time. This saves us a lot of work. And there we got the totals on here. If we take a look at the sheet February and March, all of those are done. Now we want to create a summary sheet, and before we do that we do need to ungroup those sheets. To ungroup, you can either right click on any of the sheet tabs included in the group, and you'll see there's an option called Ungroup Sheets, Alternatively, if you've got other sheets in your book, you can just click on one of those that's not in the group, and that will deselect those 3 sheets. So now we've got all 3 of those done. Now we've only done 3, but you could have 12 or 24 sheets, but we've done the 3. We now want a summary of all 3 months. So we do the first quarter of the year summary. Now for this, we'll copy the March sheet. Remember, the quickest way to do a duplicate of a sheet is to select March and then hold your finger on the Control key while you grab March and just drag it as though you're moving the sheet next to itself. Let go and you've got an exact replica of March. If that doesn't work, you probably let go of the Control key too early. We can rename this by double clicking on the tab. We'll call it Summary. We'll come up to the title in A1 and we'll change the name to Branch Sales for First Quarter. And finally, we shall remove the numbers, the sales figures for the March, because this is going to be our summary. We don't need to delete the formulas. This is all ready to have our 3D calculation. When you've got multiple sheets laid out in a similar way and you want to grab the same cell from multiple sheets, then this is how we can do it very quickly, kind of using the grouping method. So you first of all select the cell where you want the answer. In our case, we want B6 because we're trying to add together the London Lounge Suites figures from January, February and March. Because we're doing a simple calculation, we'll choose Auto Sum. We can then click on January, then click the cell we want from January. In our case, it's going to be B6. You can see what's happening up in the formula bar. Because we want the same cell from February and March, we're going to hold the Shift key down, click on March. In effect, what it's done is picked up the cell B6 from the sheet January through to March. And to finish, we just press Enter on the keyboard to take us back where we started from. And it's added up all 3 of those sheets and put the answer here. Now this is relative, so we can just copy this down to electrical. We can also copy it across to Liverpool. Now there's one final thing we need to do on here, and that is with the percent values here, because these figures along the bottom here for each of the 3 stores, London, Manchester, Liverpool, they are 3-month sales figures. The target is only 1 month. So we'll delete these sales targets and we'll repeat the same move that we've just performed to grab the numbers from all 3 sheets. So once again, we start in London, sales target F3. We do an auto sum. We go to January. We click on the F3 on there. We hold the Shift key down, click on March and press Enter. And that gives us 750,000. Once again, it is relative, so we can just pull that across, and that now gives us our completed summary sheet. Now with the grouping, that's a very quick way of doing something on one sheet that goes through to the others behind it. Now sometimes you don't want to pick a continuous selection of sheets. So for example, if we wanted to pick certain sheets out, I could click on the January tab. Instead of the Shift key, I could hold Control on the keyboard and then click on March, If Exercise, VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. And there you'll see I've picked out the sheets I want. Now anything I do on this top sheet will go through to the other sheets, whether it's formatting or writing a formula, inserting rows, columns. If I delete those, all 5 of those sheets could be deleted at once, or I could ask it to print all 5 sheets that are in the group. Once again, ungroup just by clicking on a sheet not within the group. And that is the 3D linking.